This is Matthew Kratter from Trade University, and today I want to talk a little bit more about what I'm calling the Ethereum surveillance machine. It's been bad and it's getting worse, as you're going to see if you watch this video all the way to the end. So we have this guy named Joe Lubin. Joe Lubin was one of the co-founders of Ethereum. He was more in the business rather than the tech side of things, and people believe that he currently still owns between 5 and 10% of all ETH. So he's a billionaire many times over, and he's definitely an insider who benefited from the huge Ethereum pre-mine. So he was one of the beneficiaries, one of the Cantillon guys standing close to the money printer who made a lot of money from that and is very wealthy as a result. But it gets even worse because he went on to start a company called ConsenSys, which supplies most of the infrastructure for Ethereum. Most Ethereans can't figure out how to run their own nodes. In fairness to them, it's because there are a lot of memory requirements and a lot of very high tech specs for it. And so people outsource their nodes to companies like Infura. Now, Infura is owned by ConsenSys, which is owned by Joe Lubin, who owns a lot of Ethereum. ConsenSys also happens to own Metamask, which is the most popular mask that's used in the Ethereum ecosystem, including in DeFi. So you can already see the problem here. You have the blockchain, you have the huge pre-mine, and then you have the nodes that connect to the blockchain, which are run mostly by Infura. And then you have people connecting their wallets, which are also owned by ConsenSys, to the nodes that are owned by Infura that are owned by ConsenSys. So there's this huge concentration of power that Joe Lubin has, and many people believe that he's really the brains behind Ethereum, and Vitalik is more the weird tech guy standing out in front, sort of the Sam Bankman-Fried guy in this particular scam. But it gets worse now because Infura has begun collecting MetaMask users' IP addresses and their Ethereum addresses after the most recent privacy policy update. So this is a change that they're rolling out over Thanksgiving when they don't think that people are going to notice it. Now, if you don't run your own node, whatever cryptocurrency you're talking about or whatever blockchain you're talking about, if you're not running your own node, that means you need to rely on someone else's node to interface with the blockchain, whether that's the Bitcoin blockchain or the Ethereum blockchain. As I said on this channel, all serious Bitcoiners run their own full nodes, or they at least aspire to, while it's just not really part of Ethereum culture. Most Ethereans do not run their own nodes because it's very complicated, very expensive to set up, and you need a lot of bandwidth, and you need a lot of processing power and some expertise as well. So they choose to trust Infura to run their nodes for them, and then what they'll do is they'll interact with the blockchain through various calls to Infura nodes. Most Ethereans and DeFi people, as we said, also use the MetaMask wallet. So this is really bad news for Ethereans and DeFi people, because when you use MetaMask now, the default setting is it's going to automatically connect to an Infura node. I think this has always been the default setting, but what makes this very dangerous now is that the Infura node that you're connecting to is going to immediately log your IP address, and it's going to associate it with your Ethereum wallet address whenever you send a transaction. Congratulations, you've now opted into the Joe Lubin Vitalik Ethereum surveillance machine just by using the most popular wallet and the most popular node setup. So it's much worse than it has been. So ever since the move to proof of stake, Ethereum validators have been actively enforcing US government OFAC mandated censorship. OFAC is a part of the US Treasury, and Ethereum validators have been actively enforcing US censorship on Ethereum transactions. So that was what was happening before, but now in addition to that, you're also leaking massive privacy to Joe Lubin and his companies. And this is the same Joe Lubin who's presumably still one of the largest holders of Ethereum. So Joe is watching whatever you do with your Ethereum wallet, your MetaMask wallet. Here is the link. People are always asking, how do you know that these blocks are being actively censored? We can see here over the past 7 days that 74% of Ethereum blocks are enforcing US government censorship. This is just unbelievable. You can scroll down here and you can see all the blocks. All the red blocks are the blocks that are actively going along with the US government and enforcing OFAC compliance. We can see that over the past 100 blocks, 82% of them have been enforcing that. I'm going to link to the ConsenSys privacy policy update, where you can see down here information collected by Infura when you use Infura as your default RPC provider. RPC just stands for remote procedure call, and this is basically where the wallet makes a call to the node to collect information. Infura will collect your IP address and your Ethereum wallet address when you send a transaction. However, if you're using your own Ethereum node or a third-party RPC provider with Metamask, then neither Infura nor Metamask will collect your IP address or Ethereum wallet address. If you want to know how easy it is to use Metamask with something else besides Infura, I'll link to this tweet thread. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. This guy seems like a pretty technically minded guy, and he still has quite a bit of trouble getting Metamask to using Metamask without having it send huge amounts of data to Infura. You can scroll down and read more about it there. Here's my prediction. At some point, Metamask is going to force you to use a government-approved Ethereum node, and there will no longer even be the option inside of Metamask to use your own node or a node of your choice. And this is inevitable, of course, because so few people in the Ethereum ecosystem run their own node anyway, and it will just become worse and worse. You'll either have to opt in to a Joe Lubin node or a US government-approved node. And most Ethereans will go along with it, because this is what happens when running your own node is not part of the culture. I like to refer to this tweet from Vitalik, where he basically poo-poos the idea of running your own node. And he says the idea of average users personally validating the entire history of the system is a weird mountain man fantasy. There, I said it. And what he's referring to here is, for example, when you download Bitcoin core software, it will go through and it will validate every transaction since January of 2009 to make sure that all the transactions are following Bitcoin consensus rules. And this is how we can be sure that Bitcoin is not cheating on us, or other people in the Bitcoin system are not cheating on us. We run our own node, we validate the history for ourselves. But you can imagine why someone like Vitalik would much rather have you trust Joe Lubin to do this, because it really strengthens their business as a software company. And Ethereum really is just a giant software company. ConsenSys is the most obvious part of it, but it's basically, Ethereum is a giant software company that runs on unregistered securities called ETH. And hopefully Gary Gensler will do something about this before he goes to jail himself for helping out SBF or whatever's going to happen. Crypto is definitely a very, very dirty place. Ethereum became a government-captured coin when it moved to proof of stake. And now, as we can see here in this video about Ethereum surveillance, the end game is taking away all privacy. And to add injury to insult, Ethereans are now being dumped on by Vitalik. Here is from a couple days ago. This is from November 14th. Vitalik Buterin selling 3,000 ETH, approximately $3.75 million worth of ETH on Uniswap a couple days ago, and it looks like he may be getting ready to sell another 40,000 ETH, 48 million ETH. If you're good at reading Etherscan, you can let me know whether I've read this correctly. It's from the same Twitter account monitoring Vitalik Buterin's movements on chain. Either way, what's happening to Ethereum is just a complete disaster. I can't imagine that anyone who still has cypherpunk ideals or ideals about freedom and privacy would have anything to do with this government-captured coin at this point. If you found this video helpful, be sure to hit that subscribe and like button. Hit the notification bell if you want to be notified when I publish my next video. And let me know your questions and comments in the comment section below. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.